Hello everyone, welcome to this quick video. This one is all about the new CMS, and it's specifically for schools that have used our previous website editor and are now moving across to the new one. Now, if you've used the old website editor, you're probably going to be very familiar with some of the things I'm going to show you today. They do look a little bit different, so let's show you what sort of things you can expect with the new CMS. So I'm here at a demo, and your new website may look very similar to the design of your old one, or you might consider having a completely different design. That's up to you. I'm really going to show you the editing side of the new CMS. So you may have a button to log in just as you do now, or it might be a discrete little link somewhere in the footer, or it may not be there at all. What we found previously is that parents would be clicking on that login button expecting to log into something, and obviously if you don't have the learning platform with us, then there's nothing for those parents to see. So we've made the login process a lot more discreet. So if you don't have a button at all, it's a case of going to the web address up at the top, / and then typing in the word login, and that will take you to your login screen where you put in your email address and your password. Now if you've used the other website editor, you can't use the same username and password unless obviously you change it. That is different. The new website editor sits on a completely different server, so it's a case of having a new login for each person you want to give access to your new website. There is some changes in the role of those particular users, and I shall cover that as we go through. But once you're logged in, you'll see something that looks like this. This is your main dashboard. We'll give you some information in this panel up at the top. There's a link to the Academy, and there's also some built-in visitor statistics in there, so you can monitor how many visitors you've had, your most popular pages, and down here the most popular downloads as well. Your main menu on here is on the left hand side, and you'll see these icons on the left. If you move across them, the menu slides in from the left hand side and you can see those items a little bit more clearly. So the next one down is pages, and you can see your pages listed here. Here they sit from top to bottom. Previously they were left to right. If I show you on the old website editor, you can see it's a little bit different. This is the old one, and this is our new one. Your categories as they sit in your navigation bar can be reordered very easily just by clicking and dragging. And you'll also find that we now list the number of items within each category in the brackets after each one. So I can see in key info I've got 9 items in here. If I click on key info, it will show me those 9 items, and they could be individual pages, or they could be subcategories, or they could be external links to other websites. Now previously on the old website editor we would have fixed categories. Those fixed categories were home, news, calendar and contact. They were fixed because they had additional functionality on them, so they would either pull through to the home page or they would display a little bit differently. But you couldn't remove them and you couldn't rename them, but you can remove and rename those things now. So if you want to rename your calendar to something like useful dates, then you can do, or you can simply not use it at all. Now pages within a category can also be moved up and down as they sit in the drop downs. So you just move those in the same way, just click and drag. You can also move your pages from one category to another, and you do that by clicking on this branch structure button that we can see on the right hand side. Click on there and tell the system which category or subcategory that needs to go to. Now to edit a page, click on the title of the page, and you'll see that a big difference now is that we are editing a page as it looks for the public. You can see that here. Previously you would have to edit it on the separate editor and then just hope that that looks similar for the public. Now when you are editing a page, the first thing you do is create a new draft, and you do that by clicking on the pencil on the left hand side. You'll see here that we've got an active page. That means that's the page that's visible to the public. But if we want to edit it, we would first create a draft by clicking on the black button here, and that then creates the draft page. We can then edit this draft page as many times as we want to. It will automatically save the draft for you. So if you are working on this throughout the week, you don't have to worry about saving. The changes you make will always be saved within the draft. Once you are happy with the draft, you can then publish it by clicking on this button, and that will overwrite the active page that was previously there. Or if you don't like it, you can always delete your draft. The draft will disappear and the active page that was previously there will remain in place for the public. You can also change your page template. So if you wanted more columns in there, you can do that by clicking on the grid icon. But let's show you what a draft looks like. So firstly, I'm going to remove this menu by clicking on the pencil again, and that will slide away to the left-hand side. Now, as I move across the draft, you'll see that the regions, though previously known as columns, will appear with a red line around it. So you can see this one here. There's 2 or sometimes 3 buttons pop up in the left-hand side. One to move, one to delete, and you might have one for editing. You don't have editing on a text block because you can simply edit directly in it just by clicking on any of the text in there. Here we've got the edit button popping up on the left-hand side. Now, to add more items to your region, click on the plus that pops up on the right-hand side, and you'll see a lot of the same elements that you are currently familiar with: text block, resources, video, embed, PDF, etc. Carousel is what was previously called gallery. There is some additional transitions that you can have within your galleries. We've also put a divider in there. We've renamed staff member to profile because we've found that a lot of schools are using this for governor pages. And we've also got link box, which some of you may know is an item that was previously just on the home page, a picture link that you can put a title across the top and it goes across to either an internal page or an external page. So all of this is very much the same. You can also add your elements now to the top rather than the bottom, but as a default it will always go to the bottom. This is quite handy if you are a teacher and you are creating a class page and you want it very much like a blog roll. You can add your items to the top, and that way you don't have to drag everything new from the bottom to the top each time. Once you are happy with your page, you would go back to the pencil on the left, and as I said earlier, either publish it or you can delete it. If we go back to our pages, you'll see that some of these pages have a padlock on them, and that means that there is a draft in play. If I needed to move or change the title of some of these pages, I would need to either delete or publish the existing draft before I could do that. When you're adding a new item, click on the green button up at the top and you'll see that you can add a new category. That would be a subcategory within a category, or a page, or an external link. If we were to select page, you'll see this is very similar to the old website editor, but there are a number of new fields in this pop-up window. You can add a shorter title for navigation. So if your page title is particularly long, you might want to shorten it down just so it appears in the navigation bar or the drop down as a shorter title. Select your layout from here in the same way. You can put a date stamp on your page, but you don't necessarily have to. You can also choose a thumbnail image. This is for if you want to share your page elsewhere, such as social media. You may want to illustrate that link with a thumbnail picture, so you can choose a picture directly from your computer's browser by clicking on the button. And you can also add a page description in here. This is helpful for Google searches, so any description that you write in the box, that will appear on a Google search. Now, if your design has particular homepage links, then we may utilize these two fields here, preview image and page description, for those particular links, but we can talk you through that during your design. Let's delete this draft. And let me show you the calendar, because the calendar is very similar to how it is currently. But if I go to the calendar here, you'll see that I've already renamed it Useful Dates. You'll see that when you're adding a new item, you can now categorize your events with a color. Most of these fields are very similar to how they are currently, but down at the bottom you'll see that you've got categories, and you can create colorful categories that can be filtered by the public as they're looking at your website. To add a new category, just click on the plus. give it a name, and then select the colour from the box on the right hand side. For your public, they can filter for a particular category, and they can see all of the Year 4 events as they appear on here. So if you're a parent and you only have one child in Year 4 in this instance, you don't have to look through all of the events to quickly see the events which apply to you. And let me talk you through the other bits that we have in this menu. Firstly, here's your accreditations. We've filtered down your accreditations so that you can only see your regional accreditations as well as the national ones. Hopefully that will make finding accreditations a lot easier because you don't have to go through all of the accreditations which are focused on a different region of the country to you. Just turn them on in the same way, click on the switch on the left hand side, and that will add them to the footer of your website. If you're finding that there isn't the correct accreditation there, obviously just get in touch and we can add it for you. Your contact forms will not only come through to the specified email address, but it will also come through to this area here. The reason for that is because they come from a no reply style email address, and schools have found that that has been caught up in their spam filter quite a lot. Check your spam certainly to see whether those queries are coming through, but they will also come here and you can manage your queries directly from the eSchools editor. Your school settings are here. That was previously the blue button that you would find on your website editor on the right hand side. It's where you can add your social media links and also amend your important message. That's the scrolling message that goes across the top. Obviously you don't have to turn that on the whole time, you can turn it off, and you can change your message by clicking into the box and typing a new one. Website settings are down the bottom. You can turn these on and off, and they include the Google Translate tool, the animated snow, and the muted colours. That's the black and white that we had when the Queen died. And finally, your users are here. Now, as I said earlier, you will need a new user account. You can't use the one that you used on the previous website editor. And the reason that is because we have different roles now depending on how much access you want for the website editor. We have admins, super admins, and editors. Let me talk you through those. Create a new user by clicking on the green button up at the top and add in the details here. Once you've added them and clicked on save, they will receive an email, so you don't have to tell them what their password is. An email will talk them through initial logging on and changing a temporary password. You can opt to add some additional security, and this will send a 6-digit verification code to them each time they log in. So as I said earlier, the roles are admin, super admin, and editor, and let me talk you through the differences of those. So an admin can administrate every single page of your website. A super admin can do the same, but they can also add additional users. An editor might be restricted to the pages that they can edit. And this is quite handy if you want your teachers to have a login and update their class page or their curriculum page, but you don't necessarily need them to be editing the home page or the policies page, for example. When you've created an editor, you'll see the edit button here. And if you click on the edit button, initially they'll have a panel up at the top that says can edit all pages. If you don't want them to edit all pages, you can turn that off. Displays another panel with all of your pages, categories and subcategories on, and you can just tick the boxes for the individual pages or for the categories that they can manage. So that's how to use the new eSchools CMS. It's very similar to the old one. If you're in the process of moving across to this new CMS and you want to retain your existing web address, you will need to contact your domain manager so that that domain points in the direction of our server. If your domain ends .sch.uk, it's highly likely that that is the local authority. If it is different from that, like a .co.uk or a .com, then you may look after it, or your third-party IT provider may look after it for you. If you're not sure about that, then let us know and we can talk you through that process. But I hope that's been useful to you, and I'll speak to you again soon.